Welcome to Going Down the Line. I'm Steven from Virginia, and that's Chase Gilmer, and we're here to talk about Baylor football.
Yes, let's do it.
Baylor beat Kansas State 35-34 in a thrilling come-from-behind victory where Baylor was down 2 touchdowns with less than 9 minutes to go. Chase, are you not entertained?
Well, I mean that was certainly a football game, if I say so myself. Um, I mean, I messaged you during the game. I was like, man, I'm kind of starting to get off the Dave Aranda bandwagon, but
You aren't the only one.
yes, I know that. But then they decided, because they were down 14 at the time. I was like, man, this things are just not looking good. But then they came back down 14. They did almost essentially the same thing they did with SMU, albeit circumstances was different. They didn't go into double overtime, but they won on a game. Like it was another game where it was decided on a field goal kick, and yeah, um, I will say this: um, as bad as the defense has been, one of the biggest bright spots to this defense has been Jacob Redding. He has had I don't know if he's had more than 2 interceptions this year, but I mean the one that he had on Saturday was the biggest one because it was a pick six. It gave Baylor the lead. Unfortunately, they gave the lead right back, which let's give a big shout out to Kendrick Simpkins, because if it wasn't for him ripping the helmet off of that Kansas State receiver, we probably would have lost that game. So, but yeah, no, in all in all honesty, I'm happy with what Jacob Redding has done for a defense that has been really struggling. He's been one of the biggest bright spots for this defense. So yeah, let's give him his flowers.
Yeah, and Jacob Redding has had two extremely big picks. One in the red zone against SMU after the muffed punt, and the pick six, and then the one that he almost had against Arizona State would have also been in the red zone.
Oh
He just
yeah.
has a knack for making big plays when Baylor needs him to the most, man.
Yeah, I know he certainly has. And I did obviously the defense didn't play that well in the second half, but I was very um amused aside from the first and last possession they had in the first half. I thought they played well in the first half. Second half was, I mean, obviously they didn't play all that well at the beginning of the second half, but then they played well enough for them to win the game. Obviously, the Reading pick six was during the second half. Um, but I think also one of the biggest plays was obviously the blocked punt or the blocked field goal kick at the very end. I forgot who was the one who blocked it, but
Cooper
regardless,
Lands.
Cooper Lands, yes, all right, I'm happy for him, man. I feel like we haven't really said his name a lot this year. Not anything against him. It's just, I feel like we to go along with most of our defensive line, we really haven't been saying Lance's name that much this year. So I like to hear that for sure.
Yeah, and it was a big come from behind victory. I was really excited for the team. Um, the fans left early, man, and I understand that a lot of us were frustrated during the game, being down 2 touchdowns, but eventually the results are going to have to matter, not the way it looks. And really disappointed for the team that that stadium was kind of empty close to the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I definitely am frustrated with that as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go due to unforeseen circumstances, but seeing it on TV, it really was embarrassing, and I mean, it sends a message not just to our team, but to potential recruits as well. Um, in the days of NIL, as well as the transfer portal, if you're not going to back up your team, then some of those players are not going to be playing for Baylor when we really need them the most. Um, I understand that a lot of people were really frustrated when Baylor went 3-9 in 2023, but that was 2 years ago. And given everything we've done over the last full season, I mean, we've gone 10-3 over the last our last 13 games dating back to, when we throttled Texas Tech in Lubbock for their homecoming. So again, I totally understand why people are frustrated, but that does not give you any reason to not show up when you can. But we can also say, two things can be very much true. We should be happy that Baylor's 4-2 and, exceeding basically the expectations we've seen them record-wise, and also expect this team to play better than they have been, especially on defense. So if we're not showing up to those home games, that really sends a message to the team. It really sends a message to, potential recruits. And I don't mean that in any good way whatsoever.
No, and the 3-9 season seems to have soured people on Dave Aranda, and it doesn't seem to be. It doesn't matter how many games he wins or what happens. As soon as we get down, the boo birds are going to come out. The people are going to leave, and it's kind of amazing to me because a lot of the games Baylor has won over the past few years, 2023 included, were comeback wins. I went to UCF and saw them come back down 4 touchdowns, against UCF, and there just seems to be a lack of faith in this football team, and the players deserve better. They do, and I'm really frustrated because like you said, it's not a good look, and players that can play anywhere don't want to play in empty stadiums, and I get that it was hot. But, man, maybe this is unfair of me to say because I don't live in Texas, but isn't it hot in Texas like 10 and a half months of the year? Like, this is not a new thing. It didn't just get hot in October or in September. So,
yeah,
I don't understand the deal. And, T-Rex is out there bringing his whole family with his baby and standing out there in the heat. But a bunch of grown adults are leaving because they're mad that either Baylor fired Art Briles, which I've seen a lot as an excuse that people have given me, or that Dave Aranda isn't winning at the clip that they want him to win at, when Baylor is 10-3 in their last 13 games, stemming from last year's bye week. So, what is it? Because do you want the team to win? Baylor has won 8 of its last 9 conference games. They're 4-2 to start the year. I understand that those 2 losses came at home, but the players deserve better, man.
Shout out to T-Rex, by the way.
For sure.
I was thinking about it. It's the one way that could help us with, the heat and everything like that, which, to answer your question, it's more like I would say half of the year is pretty hot in Texas, but I think one way that we could, help with the heat is, make like an extended tarp that goes past, the white ring around the
The
roof.
top of the stadium.
Yeah, so that way it gives a little bit of more shade to people in the stands and everything like that. But that's just me. I'm not an architect, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, no, I definitely agree that this team deserves better. And again, I can understand that this team needs to play better, especially on defense. We
How much
expect
better do
more.
we want them to play, man? They're 4-2. I understand that the defense hasn't been that
Yeah,
great this year, but for so many of those Art Briles years, the defense wasn't great then either. And people came and showed up for those teams. I really feel like people are still mad that Dave Aranda had a bad year a couple of years ago and a bad finish to the year before. And the fans have soured on him. And it's I guess the saying is true. Once you're on the hot seat, you never get off of it. Because
yeah,
this is just frustrating.
it
The
is.
players, I hate to say this, but part of the reason that I decided to go to the Auburn game at the beginning of the year, I live in Virginia. I try to make one Baylor football game a year, is because I wanted to see the stadium at max capacity. And I was afraid that no matter how good a start we got off to, that this is what was going to happen. And I didn't want to go to a game when the atmosphere wasn't rocking. And the excuses that people are using to not go to these games sound like loser excuses. The game day atmosphere isn't great. It's hot. You know, Dave Aranda this, Dave Aranda that. Like, I'm fed up with the excuses, you know. And the thing is that Baylor's over 500 in Dave Aranda's tenure. But when I was a boy, Baylor didn't go to a bowl game for 16 years. And you know what? People didn't show up then either. And this is what would happen if people don't keep showing up. People don't keep showing up. Recruits aren't going to want to come here. And, you know, no matter how much money you throw at them, and that's a domino effect. And I guess the fans are trying to force Mack Rhodes' hand and tell him how much they don't like Dave Aranda. But at the same time, that fourth quarter was one of the most exciting fourth quarters in recent memory. I know that we shouldn't have been down 2 touchdowns. I know that that's frustrating. But, like, one of the greatest finishes in Baylor history, and how many fans were there?
Like probably like 1,000. That's what it felt like.
Right.
Yeah.
It's what it looked like on TV.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, I feel like people are just expecting us to go back to the tarp around part of like the stadium seats, which let's be real, that's a bad look. That would be a bad look for us.
Well, that's not happening because the
yeah.
part of the stadium that the tarp is over is where the berm is now.
Well, they could put it in the nosebleeds.
You know, we are not going back to the tarp. Those seats will be empty before there will be a tarp. I can promise you that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But hey, I mean, if we're going to just whine and moan, I mean, it could be worse. We could be Penn State. We could be Texas. We could be one of those 2 teams who are the only Power 4 conference teams right now that have yet to beat a Power 4 opponent. Baylor has 3 of those. So, and look, I know we're not Penn State. I know we're not Texas. I know that they have a lot more history than Baylor does. And that there's no debate about that. But those teams had a very, very lofty expectations. In fact, Texas was number 1 in preseason. And they have yet to beat someone within their conference, within someone that is considered up within their ranks conference-wise. And, you know, they're not ranked anymore. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it could be so much worse than what we're going
and
with
this Baylor
right
team could still go 10-2 or 9-3. It's still possible, man. And how stupid are all these fans who left early because they were mad that they were down? Gonna look at the end of the year when this is 10-2. And I've already seen an Oklahoma State fan account post this, but he posted a picture of the empty stadium in the fourth quarter, and he said, "This is what it looks like when Baylor fans have a good team and they don't support it."
It's embarrassing.
It's an awful look, and it's embarrassing. And if I didn't live in Virginia, I'd go every week, you know. And I just really, really stinks, man. Really stinks that this is our fan base and that we become this entitled crybaby of a fan base that wants their old coach back and that can't support a winning team just because they get down by a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, when this season they've come back from being down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I mean, I was literally thinking to myself when I got frustrated with about 10 minutes left to go in the game, I thought, well, they did come back against SMU, so let me reserve judgment before I say something that I shouldn't. And like, are we the only ones capable of those thoughts? Because half the stadium left in between halftime and the fourth quarter.
Remember when we went 2-4 to start last year? Imagine, like, I mean, it's like we're 4-2, but it feels like we're 2-4 right now.
Nobody would be there, and we'd fire the coach already.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, no. I'm saying like people are complaining like we are 2-4, but no, it's the exact opposite. But in a lot of people, because again, I get why that they're frustrated with Dave Aranda, but if we get rid of Dave Aranda, you could say bye-bye to Jamarian Carlton, bye-bye to like, a bunch of our, recruits like Quinn Murphy or Davion Peters or
Think about guys
Jordan
in this
Clay.
class that are already playing, like
Yeah.
Taz Williams or Michael Turner.
Yeah. Yeah, all those players it's going to be gone. Kamar Morgan will be gone. Like all of our blue chip players that we've got over the past 2 recruiting cycles, all the work that we've had for NIL just gone.
Yeah, and I'm really we could go on for hours about how frustrated we are with the fans, but really at the end of the day, Sawyer Robertson threw for over 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. The boys played an outstanding fourth quarter of football, and we really came back and gave Kansas State, a run for their money. And we kicked a 53-yard field goal to win the game, and we blocked a 56-yarder to win the game. And that's
also,
an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, and also, I think I've said this already, but man, Michael Trigg is definitely going to be a starting NFL tight end.
I think he's going to be a first or second round pick.
I agree.
The way he's playing.
And heck, Sawyer Robertson might be a first or second round pick by the way he's playing. And, he finally ran the freaking ball. He finally is doing that. I mean, maybe not as much as we want to, but he's finally using his legs a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, Aranda has come on to say in his presser today that, they've shouted at him to run the ball and he's not doing it. So I think it's really on him and, not on the coaches. But, I really hope he starts utilizing his legs a little bit more. And what better way to do it than next week when we play TCU, whose defense, really hasn't been as great as we thought it was going to be this year. Right.
For sure. I think this team has an opportunity to play really well down the stretch. And if they don't, I guess a bunch of people will be looking at me and saying, I told you so. But, I'm going to have faith in the boys. I'm going to have faith in the team because they deserve that, man. Yeah. They deserve some people that believe in them. And even if it's just the two of us,
Right, yeah. Until Aranda is fired, I'm going to support him, and I'm going to support the Baylor football no matter what.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have another game this week as it is a bye week, but we are going to do some picks of the week.
Yep, we are. And because we have a bye week, we're going to do more games. Hold on one second. I should have had the games for this week pulled up already. All right, here we go. So the first game that we're going to pick is number 1 Ohio State at number 17 Illinois. That is a noon kickoff time on Fox in OSU. Ohio State is favored by 13.5 points. I'll go first on this one. It's not even going to be close. I'm picking the Buckeyes.
I'm also going to pick the Buckeyes. I think the way that Indiana destroyed Illinois gives me little faith in them against another team of that caliber. Even at home, give me Ohio State.
Yes. And I mean, I'll give Brett Bielema a little bit of credit, but still, I don't think Illinois got a chance here. All right. So next game we're picking is number 8 Alabama at number 14 Missouri. That's also a noon kickoff time on ABC. Steven, who do you got for that one?
Give me Bama. I think if they lose to Missouri, it's going to be a real problem for Kalen DeBoer. Someone else who won't get off the hot seat. A true once you're on it, you're not off of it, no matter what. Give me Bama to beat Mizzou.
I'm actually going to pull a not so fast, my friend, on you with this one. I'm kind of going back and forth on this one because I can really see, either team winning, but I'm actually going to pick Mizzou in this one. With it being in Columbia, Missouri, I think Mizzou has a bit of a chance. If it was in Bama, I'd pick Bama all day. But with this being a road game for them, I'm picking Missouri.
Okay.
All right. So next game we're picking is number 7 Indiana at number 3 Oregon. That's a 3:30 kickoff time on CBS. I think Indiana will play close in this one, but Oregon is just a really, really good team right now. I think if it wasn't for Ohio State, I think Oregon would be the national title favorite right now. So I'm picking the Ducks in this one. But Indiana keeps it within, 2 touchdowns.
Quack, quack. Give me the Ducks.
All right. All right. So next one is the Red River rivalry game. Number 6, Oklahoma at Texas. The alluded to earlier preseason number 1, who is now unranked, is also a 3:30 kickoff time on ABC. Steven, who do you got in this one?
Give me Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry in the Cotton Bowl. This is my favorite game of the year every year, my favorite non-Baylor game of the year every year. I'm picking Oklahoma. I feel like Texas has looked real out of sorts, but it would be hilarious for Arch Manning in Texas to carve up Oklahoma after how bad they looked against Florida. So I will take Oklahoma, though.
I'm pulling another not so fast friend on you again. Um, Look, I understand Texas has not necessarily looked as great as, the hype was, especially Arch Manning, but there's always something about these games, like between Oklahoma and Texas, where I think Texas could actually pull this off. And what better way to get their first Power Four or conference win against their biggest freaking rival, Oklahoma? So I'm picking Texas in this one, but it'll be a close game.
Definitely will be a close game.
All right. So next game we are picking is just gotta Kansas at Texas Tech. So that is a 7:30 kickoff time on Fox on Saturday. Texas Tech is favored by 13.5 points. I gotta admit, I think Texas Tech is gonna win the Big 12 this year. I think they've shown everything that they can, to be the top of the top within the Big 12, and I think they'll make the college football playoff soundly, even if they don't win the Big 12. So with that being said, I'm picking the Fighting Joey Maguires, the Red Raiders, and I think they're going to win by 21 points.
I'm also picking Texas Tech. I'm also picking them to win big. Texas Tech is the best team in the Big 12. They will go to Arlington. What happens there, we'll have to see. But give me the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
All right, awesome. Now, next game we have is number 10 Georgia at Auburn. That is also a 7:30 kickoff time on ABC. Georgia is favored only by 3.5 points, which I'm honestly a little bit surprised. Steven, who do you got in this one?
I'm taking Georgia. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm looking for them to lay a hurting on Auburn. And maybe Hugh Freeze is in a little bit of hot water after this game because this season, even though they beat us, hasn't gone exactly to maybe their highest expectations.
I might regret this one, but not so fast, my friend. I don't know. There's something about the 3.5 points that feels like that's too small of a spread. So, and with this being in Auburn, if it was in Georgia, yeah, I would probably say Georgia wins a laugher. But I think Auburn has a chance to pull off a good upset here. So I'm gonna pick Auburn in this one, but it'll be
Okay.
close.
Okay.
And I will definitely eat crow if they don't. All right. Last game we're gonna pick is number 21 Arizona State at Utah. That is a 10:15 kickoff time on ESPN, and Utah is favored by 5.5 points. Um, I'm actually gonna pick Arizona State in this one. I know, Arizona State's, they haven't played up to the same expectations that they had when they played the way they played last year. However, Sam Levitt is still really good. Jordan Tyson is still really good. Their defense is still playing very, very good. But with this being a hostile environment, I can understand why Utah's favored, but picking the Sun Devils.
Not so fast, my friend. I'm going with Utah. Utah looked really good in their bounce back, and I think that outside the Texas Tech game, they've looked pretty good this year. Give me the Utes, give me the running Utes, and give me Utah to beat Arizona State.
What's your final score for that one?
31-24.
Okay, so you got Utah covering the spread then.
Covering the spread.
I'm going Arizona State. I'm going to say 31-28. And they win on
Ooh.
yet another game-winning field goal.
Oh, that would be a good game.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, y'all. Well, that looks like it is time for us to say sick 'em Bears and later, guys.
All right,
We'll catch
sick
you
'em
next
Bears,
time.
everyone. See
Sick
y'all
'em
next week.
Bears. Later, guys.